Ladies, gentlemen, and others, welcome to Take Me Out to the Podcast. I am your host, Johnny Jackson, and today I have a very special guest, Bobby from Outta Here Baseball. Thanks so much for joining us, Bobby.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
If you didn't know already, you can follow Bobby on Twitter at Outta Here B-Ball. On his YouTube channel, Outta Here Baseball, Bobby posts some amazing baseball content with an analytical edge to it. Bobby is a Phillies fan who majored in stats, and he played baseball growing up, which he says helps him understand the human side of the game. His latest video covered J.D. Davis's breakout season and how he thinks it's sustainable.
Yeah, and so far it has been.
Yeah, he's been hitting the absolute cover off the ball. How did you kind of get introduced to sabermetrics?
I guess it was initially just watching MLB Network. About middle and high school is when a lot of those new age stats were coming into the public domain, I guess you could say. And Fangraphs just being publicly available has really helped, just looking at newer stats that are much better than what we're using traditionally. And then recently with StatCast being used in broadcasts, and now you have Baseball Savant where you can look up how hard players are hitting the ball. Like, this is the data that you wanted to know for so long. Like, oh, he hits the ball so hard, he's just not getting results. Now we can see all that. It's just right there. Anyone can do it.
So your Bo Bichette video, it's just turning a year old. And in one of your comments on that video, you said it was your first real big video to blow up, and MLB left a comment on there.
Yeah.
So what does that mean to you?
So that video at the time, I had maybe 100 subscribers, and that one was the first one to get like algorithm traction on YouTube. So it got into the thousands, which was a lot for me at the time. I had never broken 1,000 views on a video. MLB actually didn't comment on that until much later, because it was when I think Sadman Baseball featured me in his Mike Trout music video, as he called it. And after that, they commented on some of my videos. And then it wasn't until I made a video on the Cincinnati Reds that things really blew up. I went from 400 subs to about 1,000 in a week. And then from there, it just blew up dramatically.
How do you try to balance the analytic side versus the human side of baseball?
Yeah, that's something I've tried to do much more moving forward, because I know people give baseball a lot of flack for being, oh, nerds and numbers are destroying sports. So I try to bring in the human element, just acknowledge, like, there are things that numbers can't quantify, and just acknowledging that, I think that really helps bring the whole production together of not just being a straight by the numbers thing, even though, like, obviously what I do is pretty by the numbers. You just got to acknowledge the human element.
So your video on Yasiel Puig's unsustainable rookie season is your highest performing video in terms of views. Is that your favorite video, you would say?
I don't really know if I have a favorite video. I was kind of surprised why that one just kept on going. I think it was because it was Dodgers, and I've had a couple videos on the Dodgers, and even Bruised Our Gratterall, that one did pretty well. But favorite video, I would have to say either the best third base generation ever or like most average player and pitcher, because those things you really have to come up with your approach all on your own. Like, there's no way to easy answer that.
In your Thanks for 10K video, you did talk about almost quitting YouTube and mentioned a comment from William Ray, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, thanking you for your Mel Ott video because he was a lifelong Giants fan.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what is the alternate universe Bobby doing with his life right now where William didn't leave that comment?
Probably just searching for another hobby. I don't know if I'd try YouTube anymore. So like right now in my life, I have YouTube, and I've done some, like, I worked at Amazon and I've done landscaping. I don't have like the career job, and currently I'm considering going back to grad school. So it's a case of either get like a legit job offer or I'm going back to grad school. So I think I would have a pretty big void in my life if I didn't do YouTube, because it's kind of worked out. Like, I get to do, podcasts like this every week or so, it seems. So it's really cool.
A question to you, because you mentioned going to grad school a little bit. What is the kind of career job that could take you off of YouTube?
Yeah, I think Well, anything that would make me like happy and fulfilled. I know that's very general, but specifically, I would love to work in sports. Maybe not baseball, since I know that's shocking, but since I've already have this YouTube channel and I think I have enough baseball in my life, I'm also really big into soccer or even hockey. But I think soccer right now is really blowing up in the United States. Like a lot of, not just the MLS, but like the USL, like the second tier. A lot of teams just popping up, and it's a big investment opportunity right now I'm seeing.
Do you have anything that you'd maybe like to mention about your YouTube channel? Maybe a sneak peek on your next video?
Yeah, so the one, I actually had to completely start over on my most recent project because I was going to do like the best 60 game stretch in MLB history, but then I realized I didn't have the data from like older players from the 20s and 30s. Like, I can't really make the claim best 60 game stretch ever if I don't have older players. So I'm doing most average player ever.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty ambitious, but I've got it narrowed down right now to like about 20 players. And aside from that, I've probably going to do a video just looking at 4 or 5 players who've been surprises so far in 2020, just so I don't have to focus on one, because it's only been like, what, 50 at-bats for most people. You can't say too much.
So do you prefer focusing on, I guess, one player, or do you kind of prefer focusing on like a smaller group of players, like in your best third base generation videos?
I'd say it's easier to make a video just on one player, because just for the research purposes, you're looking at like one specific person. You don't have to jump around to a lot of different sources. But I think when I look at more players, like in a small group, it's a bit more fulfilling, because you really have to come up with a story to like link them all together. There's just a lot more thought goes into it. So I guess the end product is a bit more rewarding.
Yeah, and you mentioned in April that you were a one-man show then. Are you still a one-man show now?
Yeah. I've had some people like reach out like, hey, if you need help with research or something. And, people have, and I've gotten back and they helped me out with like a video or two. And then after that, I've been ghosted a few times. So
kind of just like a independent contractor type situation.
I guess. I mean, I shouted out the person in the video. He's from the Philippines. It was really cool that he reached out. It was JD Martinez's video, and he helped out a lot. And I don't know if he's still watching my stuff.
Would you like to have a second person helping you out?
Right now, that would be a no, just because I'd feel funny not being able to pay a person, because YouTube doesn't make enough that I could like sustain myself and pay someone else. Yeah.
What would you consider big enough that you could make a living off of just YouTube?
Off of just YouTube, I get pretty good retention on my videos. Like for a channel with 16,000 subs, I get pretty close to that on each video with views. I think I would need to be posting about weekly with 100,000 subs to consider it like pretty livable. That's just off of ad revenue alone. Like at that point, I'd probably have merchandise, probably even like a Patreon. But right now, like YouTube, while it is a focus in my life, I haven't like been posting weekly. It's not like my top priority.
Yeah. So it's kind of like more of like I guess a side gig at this point. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, and that's ideally what I'd want it to be. And if it ever got to the point where I could make it my main gig, then I would gladly, have that be the case. But I honestly don't want to rely off of ad revenue as a main source of income.
Yeah. So how is a failure or maybe an apparent failure set you up for like a future success? And maybe do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Well, honestly, the way that my channel was before I did stats videos, I guess you could call a failure. So I started my channel when I was still in my senior year, and I was mainly doing like top 10s and kind of like listicle videos, if you want to call them that. And they just weren't getting a ton of views. Obviously, I was a small channel. I just started off, and my family was watching them. I had a couple friends, but I feel like top 10 videos, they really benefit from being posted every day. Like Watch Mojo, they post 4 or 5 videos a day, just hoping one of them will get a bunch of views. And that's fine. I couldn't afford to do that. That takes way too much time. So I had to think, what is less simple, what's something more engaging. So then I found the software VideoScribe, which is what I use. Essentially like one of those whiteboard videos where the hand like writes in some words, draws the pictures, but I just remove the hand from it and kind of like do my own little thing. So learning from going from 60 subscribers in about 7 months of work wasn't very fulfilling. So then at that point, you just got to look at yourself, think, what am I doing wrong? Completely, I don't want to say completely start over, because it was the same channel that I posted the videos on, but it was a complete rework of what I was doing, completely new direction with like stats, explaining stuff, and it eventually worked.
It's definitely worked out for you so far. I mean, changing directions of the channel. Is that the direction you think you're going to keep going on as far as baseball videos?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to stick with the stat stuff. I've had people tell me that they like my straightforward, just show the facts kind of approach. Like, I know I'm not as flashy as like a lot of other sports YouTubers. Like, I don't have the editing skills. It's kind of why I had to use VideoScribe. Like, I don't have any graphic design background. So it's essentially just putting like pictures and words on a timer and syncing it with my audio. That's really all it is. And it's worked out. I'm going to keep doing stats, probably some explaining videos. Like, I want to explain some stats, like what is WAR, what is weighted runs created plus. Just do short videos like that too.
And so I kind of want to pivot a little bit, talk about the 2020 MLB season.
Yes.
The Phillies starting pitchers have been really good. I think their ERA is under 3.5. Zach Wheeler's pitching well. Aaron Nola's pitching really well. Their bullpen, not so much.
Yeah. I guess that was to be expected heading into this year. A lot of question marks. I mean, Hector Neris, even though he's proven himself at times to be one of the best pitchers in our bullpen, he's also been a question mark at times. Because you never know, is he going to be shutdown closer? Or is he going to be just blow up the game in 2 pitches type of guy? But I'm glad the starting pitching has done as well as it has. Kind of needed that to be the case. But I know with a shortened season where you need to win every game, it's going to be close. I don't know if there's much we can do about the bullpen.
Yeah. And speaking of one of the guys on your team, JT Realmuto having an incredibly hot start.
Yes.
So we saw Mookie Betts sign an extension, which I, as a Dodgers fan, I did not think that was going to happen at all.
No one did.
Yeah. Do you think JT maybe signs a long-term extension?
He better. Like, as a Phillies fan, he better sign an extension. We better offer him an incredible amount of money. There's no catcher quite like him in the game. And, you know, he's right. He's 29, I think, now. 28, 29. So, might as well just try to get a 4-year extension, get him for the rest of the years. He's probably going to be an effective catcher. Don't let him test the market.
No. I mean, do you think he might be less prone to test the market, considering COVID and the new CBA and how heated those discussions might be?
You know, I think that's a interesting point. I would hope as a Phillies fan, he doesn't want to test the market. So, but I mean, as a player, I hope we offer him the money that he's worth, instead of making him feel like he's forced to settle with the Phillies.
Yeah. And going to a guy that gets a lot of hate that I don't think he deserves at all, Bryce Harper.
Yeah. Also been pretty good this year.
He's been
crushing
amazing. Are you a fellow Bryce Harper apologist?
Yeah, definitely. I get his personality. Like, he played for the Nationals, rivals with the Phillies, though not at the same level as rivalry as the Braves or the Mets. But even then, I felt it was pretty undeserved. He just plays hard. If he's on your team, you're going to love him. If you play against him, you just hate him for the way he comes off. I mean, and he's also been a lot better than people give him credit for.
Yeah, I feel like people looked at like the 250 batting average last year and just think, oh, you know, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look deeper into the numbers and think he had an incredible season last year.
Yeah, I mean, and his defense improved a lot.
Best defense of his career. And
Yeah.
if Bryce keeps tearing the cover off the ball, I mean, I don't think there are any limits for that lineup.
Yeah, and then Real Muto hitting 4th. I never would have expected him as our cleanup hitter, but
It's definitely worked out so far.
yeah. Phil Gosselin, he's another one. Been pretty surprising. Tore it up in the little summer camp. Haven't played him a whole ton, but when he has played, it's just every time he's up, I'm like, oh, he's going to come through. He's clutch.
Speaking of guys who tore it up in summer camp, I mean, Vince Velasquez, it's just night and day what happened to him.
He's been probably the most frustrating player that I've had the pleasure to watch with the Phillies. And I call it a pleasure because he is fun to watch. And he's got the stuff, and you think that he's going to just put it all together, have a very good season. And he's made so many great plays. Like he threw out a guy from left field last season. Remember, he got hit in the right arm, couldn't throw, picks up left-handed, throws a bullet to first. You remember that stuff, but then you just look at the end of the season, and it was another... you see some signs that he's going to put it all together, but again, just not quite.
Do you feel the same about a guy like Nick Pivetta? I feel like we've been waiting for both of them to break out for years.
Yeah, I mean, Pivetta, he was one that a lot of people were like, oh, spin rate. He's going to be amazing. Yeah, again, he hasn't quite put it together either. I'd like to see Velasquez be used as like a reliever at this point because I feel like he has the stuff. Like he just one good inning out of him, that's fine. Because the third guy in that trio of young Philly starters, Zach Eflin, he's the one that actually has done pretty well. And at this point, he's kind of locked in a rotation spot. So I don't know who our fifth guy is. I guess Pivetta.
Great, because I agree with you. I feel like Velasquez's stuff will play very well at the bullpen. I mean, he's been great when he's been back there.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be one of those cases where he's just had a lot of chances and he just couldn't quite put it together.
And maybe he becomes like a Wade Davis or Ian Kennedy type where he just starts excelling in the bullpen, becomes like a lockdown. I mean, we need help there too.
He could be your closer this season by the end of it. I mean, that's a relatively realistic.
I mean, I'd love to see that.
My final question to you is, who's your personal white whale? Like, if you could sit down with anybody in the world for a half an hour, 45-minute discussion like we're doing today, who would it be?
I mean, I don't want to be basic and say Mike Trout just because I'd want to meet, the living legend here. I'm trying to think if there's anyone that just has like a really interesting personality. Someone, if I thought harder, there would be another answer. Maybe like retired player Nick Swisher. I think he would be interesting to talk to. And he's been around too.
Oh yeah. At the end of the day, when Mike Trout's career is done and over with, is he the greatest of all time? And I guess who is your greatest of all time right now?
Ooh. Yeah, another good question. There's so many ways that you can draw up like greatest of all time. Looking at pure wins above replacement, statistically, he may end up being the best all-around player. The way that I always answer this, though, is if I were to start a franchise, like choose every player that's ever played, right now Willie Mays is the guy I choose first. That's just because of the all-around game. Babe Ruth, like, I'm not assuming he's going to pitch and hit if we were to have a theoretical all-time fantasy league. Though, I mean, he is statistically the best hitter, outshone all of his peers when he played. But I think Willie Mays, just center fielder who can do it all. That's the guy I choose.
Are you a big Bonds guy or not really?
See, I mean, we're about the same age. Like, we probably were exposed to him with the Giants when the whole, Balco and the steroids case came out. So all I hear about him my whole life is negatives. And now that I'm older and I start to just think about him differently, do I necessarily forgive steroid users? Like, I get that it was part of the game at the time, and he also doesn't have the best personality, but I'm of the camp that thinks he should be in the Hall of Fame and that what he could do with a bat in his hands, like no one else could ever do.
Yeah. I just remember one of those like great at-bats of all time watching the backlog is his at-bat versus Gagne, where
Yes.
Gagne said he gets one breaking ball.
Mm-hmm.
And Barry Bonds launched that pitch so far.
See, it's that kind of stuff that makes you think, like, if I were to do that all-time fantasy league, maybe Barry Bonds, he was also really fast in his prime, too. So I don't know, like, which Barry Bonds you choose. Like, early 90s or you choose like the early 2000s type.
He won Gold Gloves too, so it's like he almost had two like different careers.
He did. And I think that's part of why the whole, like, when he was obviously juicing, that's a bit disheartening to see. Because he could be in the conversation of, had he have been clean his whole career, you put him in the same category as, like, Mays and Mantle as, like, best all around.
Bobby, I'm going to let you go. You've been such a great guest, and you are the first guest we've had this year. And thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me.
Yeah, I mean, this is fun. I hope that what you do at school and with this show, really hope it takes off a bit, gets you some sort of recognition. I mean, you tweet this out, like, I'll retweet it. I don't know if it'll get seen anywhere, but I'll mention it in the latest video too.
Thank you so much. Hey everyone, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, and if you enjoyed watching it as much as I did making it, feel free to leave a like, comment, and check out the other content at HTFN. I want to give a special shout out to Bobby for believing in me and hitting the field enough to be our first guest, Sean Green for bringing HTFN to life, and Courtney Hanks for being such a great mentor to me for as long as I've known her. Thanks everyone, catch you next week.